So today's videos are going to be pretty important, so stay tuned for both of them, especially the one later. But the first one being I wanted to do an unusual kind of update video, talk about some news of the day kind of stuff. So as far as the case totals go, Canada's up to 92,153, 7,344 dead. Um, Alberta had just 13 new cases yesterday, which I believe is a pretty much an all-time low since probably early March, late February, for all we know. Um, we're down to 51 people in the hospital. I believe we had 53 yesterday. Still six in the ICU. But the whole point with that being is that the government keeps hinting around about reopening, but yet they never come up with anything tangible. Again, I've been holding my breath for like a month now, and yet still nothing. Like I say, we entered phase two, I believe, May 10th ish. I think it was like second week of May. Um, and there's other provinces that are already pretty much reopened. I believe Manitoba's opened up, or even opened up gyms and salons and restaurants even more than they already were. Um, and the big thing being is that, I mean, the main point I wanted to bring up when it comes to this is the rioting and the protesting. I mean, the protesting, I'm perfectly on board with. Rioting, definitely not. And the fact that so many people seem to think that, oh, if you're against rioting, that must mean you're a racist is absolutely insane. That's why we're facing so many problems in society today, that we can't defer the difference. And the people justifying it as, oh, well, how well does peaceful protest work? Well, did MLK, was his supporters looting and burning down cities and stuff like that? No, he was. I mean, there was probably some violence. I'm not an expert on the issue, but from what I've heard and read about, they were largely peaceful. So that's a different story in and of itself. But the whole point being is that it's been like a little, I think it's been 8 days now, or 7 days of this protesting. So if there's not a massive uptick in cases in the States, and I mean to a lesser degree in Canada, because we're having protests in almost all our major, in fact, all our major big cities, if there's not a major uptick in cases within the next week, then we will know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's been a complete. I mean, we already have more than enough evidence, but I think this is just another piece of evidence that the lockdowns are a complete scam, a complete and utter scam. And it's not we haven't known that already. There's already a ton of evidence pointing that out. But this is just confirmation that we didn't have. I mean, we already had examples of states, but we didn't have examples of people gathering in massive areas. Compact. You know what I mean. Like in protests, people are it's very close quarters. There's thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of people in very small areas. So if there's not a massive uptick in cases within the next week, we will know for sure that it is a complete scam and there is no reason whatsoever to not completely reopen. So that is the thing I wanted to point out as far as that goes. And like I said, the last thing being is that I'm not sure why the government isn't telling us, okay, this is what we want to see. I know I've mentioned this before, but it really boggles my mind that why can't they tell us this is what we want things to look like before we're comfortable reopening? Like, why not? It doesn't make any sense. It really does not make any sense whatsoever. So, um, anyway, getting into some other stuff here. Now, with this kind of stuff going on in the States, I wanted to put some info out on it because there's a lot of misinfo. Now, this is a study, and again, it was published by NPR, which is a publicly funded news outlet that is, I don't think anyone would claim is biased. And it says, new study says white police officers are not more likely to shoot minority suspects. And this is one of the main reasons why these protests are going on. One of the main reasons. And it's based off a lie. It's based off a lie. Now, are blacks more likely to be in jail? Yes, but first you have to adjust for the likelihood of committing crime. You have to adjust for all that kind of stuff. And I've never seen people that put out studies that actually adjust for that kind of stuff, because it's the same thing with um, boys getting charged more for car insurance. Well, under the leftist theory and under the lynch mob theory that people seem to be adhering to nowadays, that must mean that it's sexist because there's no differences. But everybody knows that boys are more likely to get in accidents and to get in tickets, which is why they're caught, which is why they're charged more. I mean, they're probably more likely to drive more expensive cars as well. So that is why. And another point to bring up, men are like what, 90% of the prison population, even though they're about half the general population. Does that mean that the prison system's biased against men? No. Everybody knows that everybody knows that men are more likely to commit crimes. So that's one of the things that's going on here, is that this is just one study, but um, you don't want to base your entire worldview off one study, but I've yet to see one that definitively proves that it happens. That they, like I say, they tend to just say, oh well, blacks are, whatever, just take a random number, 20% of the population, and they're 40% of the prison population. Therefore, that must mean racism. But yet they never adjust for likelihood of committing crime, arrest rates, and the crime victimization surveys, which are completely anonymous, have shown time and time again that blacks are in prison roughly at the rate that people say they commit crimes. And the only rebuttal you could possibly have of that is that insanely high percentages of people are racist when they have nothing to gain by being racist, which doesn't make any sense. So again, just wanted to bring that up. Like I say, it's one study that doesn't definitively prove everything, but I've yet to see a study that definitively proves the other way. Um, so yesterday was Blackout Tuesday, and a bunch of celebrities that largely supported the violence, and supported and pledged money towards bailing out people that were committing violence started this. Um, and everybody went along with it because, again, people are deathly afraid of being called racist nowadays. They're deathly afraid of not having the same opinions as everybody else these days, so everybody went along with it. And Hotep Jesus here on Twitter made a good point, and he said, hashtag Blackout Tuesdays for white liberals who want to purge their white guilt, and for helpless black people who want to feel like they did something. And again, this is um, I don't think he could have put it any better. I don't even think I have to sum it up in any way, shape, or form. He put it exactly the way that it should have been. And the point being is that posting stuff on social media isn't going to fix racism. It's the classic actions speak louder than words aspect, that I would be perfectly fine if they had this hashtag thing and said, hey, um, post your Blackout Tuesday thing, and then post in your comments about how, what you would do to fix the problem. Like, again, it's the classic, people who point out problems and don't give any solutions are part of the problem aspect. And this is exactly what all these people are falling into. They're pointing out problems and not offering up any solutions, and that's the problem. So anyway, this is from Robbie Starbuck on Twitter, and he says CNN is literally endorsing rioting. You can't make this stuff up. They're actually full on endorsing riots and fanning the flames of hate and racial division. Um, and this is part of the reason why racial tensions are so bad right now. I don't think they're as bad as they've ever been. They've definitely been a lot worse before, but the mainstream media whips everybody up into a frenzy. They make it seem whenever there is a racist incident, which again, I don't even know if there's evidence that proves that this was a racist incident. There may be, but I've yet to see it. People seem to just assume, oh, it was a white cop and he killed the black guy, therefore it must mean racism. Well, how do you know that the white cop just wasn't having a bad day? How do you know that maybe it was somewhat of an accident? Again, not that he shouldn't have known that if you keep your leg on some guy's neck, could very well die. Not that you shouldn't know that, but how do you know that it was racism? Like, if this guy was really a racist cop, you'd think he'd be going around in the darkness of night, assassinating black guys. Like, if you're actually racist, that's probably what you would be doing. Not again, why would you kill someone and film yourself doing it? Again, if you're actually racist, it doesn't make any sense to do that. So if I had to guess, I don't even think that this was a racist incident. I think this was just a case of a cop who overreacted, who maybe was on a power trip, maybe he was having a bad day, who knows. But did he kill the guy? Yeah, but was it racist? I don't see any evidence of it at this point. Again, just because a white cop kills a black guy doesn't necessarily mean it's racist. It might be perfectly it might be something that's the cop defending himself, like the Mike Brown situation, or it may be a case like this to where black guy was probably just at the wrong place at the wrong time. He came across the wrong cop, and it really sucks to be him. And it was a terrible incident. Like I say, I don't think anybody, including me, at least a very, very, very large percent of the population, probably 99.999 percent of people do not support racism. What they're simply saying here is that we shouldn't overreact. So anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to bring up as far as this goes. So getting back to the whole virus situation, or at least somewhat related to the whole virus situation, is this is something that came out about a week ago, but I wanted to talk about it nonetheless. So um, Tracy Wilson basically responds to Jagmeet Singh complaining in a good way, saying he helped shut down Parliament for months, complains there is no accountability or action now, just shut up. You sold out seniors, Canadians for sick days, disgusting. Now again, this is the problem with these politicians is they're complaining about all these issues, but yet they shut down Parliament till what, September, October? You shut it down for 3, 4 months, and you're complaining about all these issues. Like, open it back up. There's no reason whatsoever to not open back up Parliament. Like, no reason whatsoever. And it makes no sense. Like, you complain again. If they propose ideas that I at least that I disagree with, but we're in Parliament, like, at least I can give them some credit. Like, at least you're willing to stick your neck out for Canadians, or at least what you perceive to be sticking your neck out. But this whole shutting down Parliament so you can have a months long vacation, your whatever 15 grand a month paycheck or whatever it is nowadays. Um, that's disgusting. Like, that's absolutely disgusting. And like, so many people are suffering right now, and yet they completely sold out Canadians. Like, completely sold out Canadians, seniors especially. But I mean, seniors largely sold out the younger generations. So some of it, not that they deserve a lot of what they're getting nowadays, but some of it is kind of the karma, I guess. But not that they deserve largely. Some of it they definitely deserve, but most of it, again, you don't deserve to die. Um, but yeah, this is the problem. This is the problem. Like, you want to complain. This is the same thing comes back to the whole Blackout Tuesday thing. That if you want to, people who complain about things and don't offer up solutions are part of the problem. And I can't stand these people. Like, I can't, like, at least if you propose a solution that I disagree with, at least you're actually trying to think critically, at least somewhat. But this whole complaining and not offering up any solutions doesn't do anything. And the problem too is it's just stoking division too. It's just stoking division because um, you're just the people that you disagree with. This is just you know making them dig themselves even deeper. That they're like, hey, I knew this guy is a piece of garbage. I knew he's a sellout. I knew all he cares about is his paycheck, and you're just making them look right. If you want to, prove your detractors wrong, then stick your neck out. Like, actually do your job. So anyway, the last thing I wanted to talk about here is from Brian Lilly. And this is something that, again, very insane. And he says recovering from the virus now includes moving away from oil and gas, according to the WHO's Tedros. Is this health talk or social engineering talk? Expect this to be adopted by Justin Trudeau. Now, again, it wouldn't surprise me. And this is what I've been bringing up for, it seems like, over a year now, that the environmental talk and all this kind of garbage, it's really just an excuse to implement socialism. And this is what I talked about too with this whole virus situation too, is that the government just wants socialism. They want more power. And yet here it is, one of these solutions to or to figuring out the virus and how we can go forward is to get rid of oil and gas. What does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with anything? Like, if you want to disagree with oil and gas, then whatever, but what does it have to do with the virus? Like, what does it have to do with it? And what is the World Health Organization's role in deciding countries about the energy they use? You're the World Health Organization. You're not the World Energy Organization or the World Oil and Gas Organization or the World um, Wind and Solar Organization. You're the World Health Organization. Worry about health. I mean, you can barely even do that. But um, anyway, it's just a crazy, crazy story. And I wanted to point it out because it's very crazy. So anyway, if you like the video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. Check out my PayPal and email. Appreciate any donations, but at the very least, just hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. And check me out on Twitter if you haven't already. Check me out on BitChute as well. All the links are in the description, so you can find them all there.